Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, for yet another exciting episode of Playing Fighting Fantasy as we continue our quest to save the world from the evil necromancer Razak in Crypt of the Necromancer, not Sorcerer. Necromancer. Let's go with Necromancer. Last time I left this off at what seemed like a good point to take a little break. So the story so far is that about 100 years ago, the evil Necromancer Razak got defeated by someone who found his sword, which is the only weapon that can actually defeat him. He can't use it himself, so he put it in the lake somewhere. And of course, the warrior who used the sword, he turned into an undead himself and became the protector of the sword until next it was needed, which is now about 100 years later, because Razak has escaped from his prison. He wasn't defeated 100%. He was just imprisoned. He is a kind of demonic sorcerer, necromancer, so of course he can't be killed easily. And the task of saving the world from Razak and his horde of undead falls to you, with a bit of help from Yaztromo. Yaztromo has told you that you need to find different amulets and other things that will help you defeat Razak. Without those things, there is no chance of your success. First of all, you head off to find the sword, and of course the sword will destroy you or turn you into an undead if they can't jig something with a bit of magic. Yaztromo is on the case and he thinks he can do that. So you find the sword, you find an amulet, you find some holy water, you find a clue to opening a granite door. There's lots of little things that you find. I'm not going to run through all of them now. And you also find a forest spirit that helps you, that tells you he can help you again. So there's lots of little things that have happened. If you want to know exactly what, go to the previous episode. So I'm going to continue from there. I've just got to the point where I've returned to Yaztromo's tower, and then it turns out he's not there, and it looks like it's been gone for some time. He has actually been kidnapped by the forces of evil, by Razak and his minions, and his demonic minions, and taken to be sacrificed. You go and you rescue him. He says that, and I'm just going to start from the paragraph just after you rescue him, so we just get a nice place to get started. And yeah, let's just start there, shall we? Yeah. Oh, right, here we are on my desk. Got my supplies, pen, pencil, dice, got my book, maps, character sheet. What I have decided to do in this one, and of course I do this sometimes at other times anyway, for me now the puzzle of the book is finding the right path, finding the right items, knowing what to do. And if the difference between winning and losing, or success and failure, I should rather say, is rolling of the dice, I will ignore the dice a lot of the time, because you can just go back to do exactly the same from the beginning, and the dice will give you different numbers every time. And if you do that enough times, you will get a positive outcome, and which means that it's not cheating to do a do-over or ignore dice. It's just saving time. That's my new mantra, and I'm going to stick to it. So, and also I've heard that if you want to play fair, of course this book doesn't play fair with you, why should you play fair with it? But if you do play fair with it and follow the rules, your chances of success are really, really slim. And that's because some of the monsters you find in this are so hard to beat. Some of the early ones are actually so hard that you are very likely to fail even early on. Right, so I'm going to start where we left off, roughly. Let's see if I can find a good paragraph here. Let's see. First, you fight a demon who's guarding the body of, not the body actually, guarding Yaztromo about to be sacrificed, and you win that battle. And then it says, so it's called a demon spawn, this creature that you just fought. As the demon spawn drops to the ground, its body begins to shrivel, hissing and steaming until it is nothing but a pool of foul-smelling slime. A shudder runs down your spine as you walk over to Yaztromo and untie him. "Bravo!" the old wizard says with a smile, shaking your hand vigorously despite his ordeal. "My magic would not work against this creature from hell. Either I am losing my touch, or Razak has greater powers than I thought. Never mind, we must not flinch from our task. Now tell me, how did you find the lost lake, and who is your friend here?" That's true, yeah, actually you found the lost lake, which is where the sword was, and you also found someone to help you. I can't remember how that happened now. It's been 2 weeks. You tell Yaztromo about your journey and how you came to meet Sim. Yaztromo looks pleased and says, "Well, I did find out a few things about our friend Razak. He will be a most formidable opponent for you. If you get past the minions who protect him, not only will you have to slay him with his own sword, but his heart must be pierced by the horn of a Gargantus Beast. According to fables, the Gargantus is a rare creature that lives underground. But I have not the faintest idea if any even exist. It is virtually invulnerable to weapons, and you may have to use magic so that its horn can be cut off. Only then will it die. Now let's leave this infernal forest and return to my tower, where a friend of mine should be waiting for us." It is not long before you are back at the tower, but there is nobody there to greet you. "Strange," mutters Yaztromo with a frown on his face. "Boudron should be here by now. I hope he hasn't come to any harm. He knows where the haunted graveyard is, and that's important. It might help to read the gravestone of Razak's father, Tamal. I think the graveyard is somewhere between Mirewater and Stonebridge, but I can't be sure." He offers you a choice between staying here overnight to see if Boudron turns up in the morning, or setting off now. And this is where I am at. Now, a Gargantus Beast was mentioned here, and there was a point in this story where somebody told me about a Gargantus Beast. I just want to see if I can find that now. I was given an indication of a location. So I found a scroll earlier, and it says, the scroll relates the tale of the fabled Gargantus Beast and its miraculous horn. Although there is no absolute proof that the creature exists, rumors about it have been circulating for centuries. It is said to have a lumpy green hide and looks like a cross between a pit fiend and the flesh golem, but with the addition of a single horn in the center of its forehead. The Gargantus' horn is said to possess many magical and mysterious powers, which it would retain even if severed from the Gargantus' head. Anyone in possession of the horn, upon wielding it, would release these powers. You have heard of this beast, but are amazed to read on the scroll that one such creature is purported to dwell in the howling tunnels of the Western Flatlands, and that's where I must find it. Perhaps the poor adventurer who owned the scroll was on his way to the Flatlands when he met an untimely death in the woods. You put the scroll in your backpack and consider what to do next. If you have not done so already, you may. Oh, yeah, okay. That's part of. So that's the clue that I read earlier. So I'm going to the what was it called? Something tunnels in the Western Flatlands. So that's where I should be going. In addition to also doing the other stuff, finding the gravestone of Razak's father. So I've got a few different things I need to look for now. So I will stay here overnight just in case Boudron shows up, or in case other things happen that are relevant to my quest. Because that is the latest map, is this one here. Right, so we are 278, stay overnight. Yes, 341. It is not long before nightfall, and you find yourselves relaxing in comfortable chairs, listening to long tales of adventure told by Astromo. After eating a huge meal, you go to bed early, since you feel you are going to need all the sleep you can get. In the morning, you feel quite refreshed. Add 2 stamina points. Not relevant to me, since I'm ignoring my stats mostly now. Plus 2 stamina, I'll just put that there. And while you pack your belongings, Yaztromo refills your glass vial with his healing potion, enough for 5 tots. So I've got a healing potion as well, enough for 5, so I've got that replenished for 5 tots. That's like my provisions in this one, so each tot is 4 stamina points. As you walk down the spiral staircase of the tower, Yaztromo says, "I fear the worst for poor old Boudron. Something terrible must have happened to him. He is usually so reliable. I hope you managed to find the haunted graveyard without him." Oh, hang on, haunted. It didn't say haunted before, did it? Now it tells me it's haunted. After that, ride to the dwarf village of Stonebridge and ask for Borre. He will be able to help you save a great deal of time. Outside, you mount your horses and ride off west along the edge of Darkwood Forest. The ride is uneventful for half an hour. That's not very long, is it? But then you see a leather sack hanging by a piece of rope from a tree. If you wish to stop and cut down the sack, turn to 207. If you would rather ride on, turn to 37. I'm going to check out the sack. So 207 sack, or 37 ride on. So I'm going to check out the sack, 207. As you approach the sack, you suddenly hear a wailing scream. Swinging down on a vine attached to a nearby tree is a huge, hair-covered humanoid wearing little more than an animal hide loincloth and carrying a large bone club. So stereotypical, isn't it? The ape man crashes into you and knocks you off your horse. Test your luck. Yeah, lucky. I should be so lucky. Okay. So we have 83 lucky and 219 unlucky. So 83 it is. You just manage to hold on to your sword as you fall. So what happens, I guess, if you were unlucky, is you lose your sword and then get a penalty for the fight. And are immediately locked in combat. Ape Man. After 3 attack rounds, turn to 254. I'm going to skip the combat as usual. I'm doing the puzzle of the book now. I will win the battles. Sim at last manages to land a blow on the ape man without fear of injuring you. He plunges his dagger into the ape man's neck and you watch it slump to the ground, a coarse gurgling sound coming from its throat. Sim then cuts down the leather sack and inside finds some polished stones, which you may take. So, polished stones. So I've got a few items that I don't know whether they're good or bad, or just junk. So we'll see eventually. Before riding on, which is 37. So 37, which is there. After crossing Catfish River, you soon leave Darkwood Forest behind. The pagan plain stretches out before you, and you wonder whether the graveyard is nearer Mirewater or nearer Stonebridge. If you wish to ride towards Mirewater, turn to 95. If you wish to ride towards Stonebridge, turn to 142. So I'm just going to put those options up there. So we have 95 Maya or 142 Stonebridge. I think I'm going to aim a little bit more towards Mirewater. It just sounds like a better place for a graveyard where the father of a demon might live. And also because I know I'm going to Stonebridge afterwards anyway, it also makes sense that my first part of my journey should be a little bit further away from Stonebridge. This feels logical in a strange kind of way. So I'm going to go to 95 now. By the way, I do apologize that there was no episode last week. I forgot to say in my introduction now. As you may have noticed if you follow my channel generally, I was busy doing a project where I was modifying my synthesizer here and adding a box. So that's why it now looks a bit different in the background now on my shelf. So may not be anything that's interesting to people watching this content. I don't know how many people I have that watch both my synthesizer and my fighting fantasy content both, but I'm sure there are some. But mostly it would be different audience, I guess. Right. So where are we? Not trusting in. Hang on. 95. Yes. You ride for several hours, but do not come across the graveyard. To the north, you see a small wood on the banks of Red River, and to the west, you can just see the rooftops of the village of Mirewater. Will you ride north to the wood, ride west towards Mirewater, or ride northeast towards Stonebridge? So this is quite a navigational challenge now, it seems. Three options. Wood. The thing is that if I went to Mirewater or Stonebridge, would somebody there know where I was supposed to go? That's the big question as well, isn't it? So 63, Mirewater. 273 north, or 363 Stonebridge again. I'll just check out the wood in that case. 273. You're soon at the edge of the wood, but cannot see far into it. Well, obviously. Will you enter the wood, ride west towards Mirewater, or ride northeast towards Stonebridge? I don't know, the options are a bit somehow, aren't they? I mean, what is this? I'm being asked twice now to do the same thing in a way. And I'm always a bit sort of a bit suspicious. Not suspect. I might be suspect too, but I'm always a bit suspicious when that happens, because I'm sort of wondering: is he sort of trying to say, "Do not go into the forest," or is he trying to sort of steer me away from the true path by giving me more options to go away from it, which sometimes is also the case in Ian Livingstone books. It can go either way. I'm going to enter the wood, obviously. So 2, 1, 5, 1, 5, wood. 2, 1. That's the worst 2, 1, 5 I've ever written on a map. Okay, so 2, 1, 5. You have not ridden far into the wood when you come to a clearing. Much to your excitement, you see that it is a long abandoned graveyard. Okay, so this looks promising. Weeds and grasses grow tall, almost concealing the broken and moss-covered gravestones. This is haunted, though, so I have to be careful. You draw your swords and walk towards the nearest gravestone. If you are wearing a bone ring with a skull etched into it, turn to 139. I might be... I can't remember now. I had 2 rings. I'll just have to check now. I didn't make any notes of the details of that other ring. Let's see, where is it now? I don't seem to have made a note of that ring. Just give me a moment so I can see if I can find it now. There was the golem, I think, that had the ring that I'm not sure about now. So where is the golem? Is it here somewhere? I'll just check if I can find... That was a griffin. 165. Centaur. 299. Golem. Okay, so if you win, go to 362. A gold ring set with a large jewel. Okay, so that's not that ring, but there was something else with skull on it. I thought that was a talisman, but the demon that you defeat had a ring, didn't he? 377. Where did that demonic ring come from? There was a or a talisman. 102. That was a talisman. Is there actually a ring that I haven't seen? Possibly. Because I don't think there is. Looking at it now, it don't seem to have a ring that fits that description. Unless I missed something. So, are you wearing a bone ring with a skull etched into it? I don't think I am. So I'm going to go to the other one. I'll have to just double check that later and see if I'm missing something. Now, and also there has been a few cases, by the way, of things being described in different ways in these fighting fantasy books, when during editing some things may have been referred to in different ways. Small possibility as well, because I do think there was a skull and a talisman. So I'm just wondering if there's a bit of a mix-up, but we'll find out. In any case, 139 and 333. But this is important to me because, as you know, I do not pretend ever to have an item that I do not have. So only if I'm 100% sure that this item is something else than it says here, or if I'm 100% sure that I have been everywhere and I would have found it, and it's nowhere to be found, then that's, yeah. But for now, I'm going to say I do not have it. It's because no ring and ring. So 139. 333 is where I'm going. No ring. You scrape the moss from the gravestone and read the epitaph of a woman who died at age 69. On the third tombstone, you find what you are looking for: Tamal's epitaph. In ancient script, it reads, "Although I lie here, I am not yet done. The dark power continues. My soul is my son." Tamal died in this world aged 108 years. So it sounds like maybe he has some of the power of Razak is actually Tamal's power, but this is a clue here now. 108 is the clue, maybe 69 as well. So I'm going to put clues now. So clue as a woman, 69, and Tamal, 108. So I've got two numbers there that may both be relevant for later. I'm going to make a note of that here now. So there's a woman, 69, and Tamal, 108. And of course, 108 is going to be a paragraph reference, I'm quite sure, at some point. You memorize the epitaph while Sim hurriedly scrapes the moss from the other gravestones, half expecting to see a ghost at any moment. But the graveyard yields no further secrets, and you ride northeast towards Stonebridge. Turn to 234. 2, 3, 4. Hang on, those belong to, yes. I just mixed up the references there. 333, no ring, and 139, ring. So, okay. Like so, that's what I was planning to do. 2, 3, 4. So it sounds to me like having the ring in this case is something that will cause bad things to happen. 2, 3, 4. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't have it. But then again, I still think it may be that amulet that I found with a skull on it that is, because it sounds like a negative thing. But yeah. The rest of the day passes without any problems. And it is almost nightfall when Stonebridge comes into view. If you wish to camp outside Stonebridge, turn to 92. If you would rather ride into Stonebridge, turn to 316. Stonebridge is a friendly town, isn't it? So why should I camp outside? Is there something going on in Stonebridge I do not know about? Okay, so camp or town. I'm going to go into town, 360. Within an hour, that's quite an illustration there. That's for the other paragraph there. Within an hour, you reach a bridge which crosses a stream. It's a stone bridge, yeah, and leads you into Stonebridge. 2 dwarf guards standing on the bridge challenge you, and you reply that you are a friend of Jastromo and need to speak to Borre. The dwarves' mood suddenly changes, and they become very friendly and talkative. They lead you through the village to some stables where Borre lives. You knock on the door and are greeted by a smiling dwarf with chubby red cheeks and a long beard. Imagine that, a dwarf with a long beard. What are the odds? Hello, he says cheerfully. My name is Borre, and you must be Jastromo's friends. Come in and help yourselves to some hot vegetable stew I've just prepared. I'll take care of your horses. Yeah. Maybe a little bit too enthusiastic. You accept Borre's kind hospitality and eat until you feel you cannot move. Add 2 stamina points. Okay, so +2 stamina. Borre rejoins you to hear about your quest, as all dwarfs love to hear tales of adventure. At last, when he seems content and he knows everything there is to know, he says, well, I suppose it's time to rest. Make yourself some beds in the hay, and in the morning I'll show you something special. My invention. So, in the morning, after a quick breakfast, you stroll outside to see Borre and his new invention. Turn to 353. Okay, 353. Oh yes, he did say it was something that will save me time, so it's some kind of traveling contraption, I would imagine. Like a balloon or something. 353. It is indeed a balloon. That's a very nice illustration there, and it is a hot air balloon. Outside in the yard, you see the strangest sight of your life. A huge balloon as tall as Jastromo's tower is being filled by Borre with hot air from a fire. A group of dwarfs is holding on to the ropes to keep the balloon from floating away into the sky. This is my invention, shouts Borre excitedly over the crackling of the fire. It is called a hot air balloon. It can carry people great distances through the skies in a basket hanging from the balloon. When did that ever sound like a good idea? You can soar through the air across mountains and lakes driven on by air currents and the wind. Now I believe we must try to find the Gargantus Beast, so if you would like to climb aboard, we'll take to the skies. And if you have any idea which way we should go, you should tell me now. The wind is blowing in a southeasterly direction, so I hope you don't want to go west. Well, we do want to go west, don't we? You're full of wonder at this amazing balloon, and you climb quickly into the basket. Borre gives the order for the dwarves to release the holding ropes, and the balloon rises smoothly. Is this supposed to be some kind of... I'm just wondering now, because I know that I'm supposed to go west. I don't have any numbers associated with that clue that gives me the chance to let him know now, do I? There was no numbers on the paragraph where I'm told about the location of the Gargantus Beast. 268. Not going to... Yeah, Western Flatlands, it says. But I don't know, are the Western Flatlands, are they east of Stonebridge? Are they west of Stonebridge? It's not quite clear. The geography is not clear. Is there a map here? Oh, no, there we are. So the Flatlands. Okay, so Stonebridge is here. The Flatlands is actually southeast of where I am. So I am going east, so southeast actually. The wind is blowing in a southeasterly direction, so I hope you don't want to go west. So actually I am on the right, going in the right direction. I'm supposed to go southeast. Okay. You are full of wonder at this amazing balloon, and you climb quickly into the basket. Bori gives the order for the dwarfs to release the holding ropes, and the balloon rises smoothly and swiftly upwards. At first you feel nervous, but soon the beautiful view and the tranquility make you relax, and you begin to enjoy the silent journey. You look down at the tiny treetops. Treetops, that's a bit of a tongue twister apparently. Or a twong tester, I suppose. Treetops of Darkwood Forest, and think about the dangers that lie hidden beneath them. Well, asks Bori, where do you want to go? Will you reply, the Forest of Spiders, the Western Flatlands, or the Plain of Bronze? Well, I know where I'm going, so I'm going to the Western Flatlands. Thank you very much, Mr. Balloon Driver. Let's see, let's put those options up there. 1, 3, 5, 3, 4, and 2, 1, 0. So Bronze, Spiders, or Western Flatlands. Now, if you look at this and see Forest of Spiders, a pass, hills. Doesn't that remind you a bit of Tolkien? Yeah, a little bit Hobbit about it, isn't it? Mirkwood Forest and stuff, and spiders. Right, so I'm going to go to the Western Flatlands, 1, 3, 5. After leaving Darkwood Forest behind, you pass over the western edge of Moonstone Hills, where 2 days previously you had made your dangerous trek. The Forest of Spiders soon appears, looking much the same as Darkwood Forest, and you know that similar unseen dangers are lurking below. Once past the forest, the balloon carries you steadily southeast until you drift over the southern edge of Moonstone Hills to reach the flatlands. Any idea where to land? Asks Bori, speaking through clenched teeth that grip his old pipe. Any idea where to land? You scan the ground below, looking for any sign of a cave or tunnel entrance. Test your luck. Yep. If you're lucky, turn to 59. Let's see, I'm just going to find my... So 59, lucky, and 160 unlucky. So 59, lucky. I'm going to go with 59. You pass over a small hillock and see what appears to be the entrance to a tunnel. You call in excitement to Bori to land, and he immediately releases air from the balloon. You drop gently down until Bori tells you to hold on tight as you are about to land. The basket hits the ground with a thump and rolls over, but nobody is hurt. You're all in good spirits and begin to laugh as you try to disentangle yourselves from one another. You fold up the deflated balloon and hide it with the basket in the entrance to the tunnel. Let's hope the Gargantus Beast is not just a legend, says Sim. Although I might regret having said that later. That sounds like famous last words, doesn't it? And I hope the dragon doesn't really exist. Yeah. Although I might regret having... Yeah. You draw your swords, light torches that you brought with you, and walk guardedly down the sloping tunnel. 5 minutes later, you arrive at a junction. If you wish to turn left, turn to 222. If you wish to turn right, turn to 90. So back to our traditional kind of dungeon crawl. I'm just going to swap pages actually for my map here now. So this is FF26, page number 4, and I'm starting here on paragraph number 59, coming from the other page there, and we got two options: turn left or turn right. So we're going to do it like so. 2 or 90. I'm going to start by turning right today. And what have we got? The tunnel twists and turns, and your torches cast eerie shadows on the rough walls. Suddenly you hear footsteps marching towards you, and you ready yourselves for combat. 6 ugly creatures, very much like a blend of orc and troll, with large ears and tusk-like teeth march into view. They have long wild hair plaited with bones, and their armor is made of large metal plates with protruding spikes and studs. The Doragar are berserk warriors who revel in the opportunity to inflict wounds with their cruel weapons. Choosing 2 opponents each, you run into battle. And again, this is going to be a really hard battle to win with a normal dice rolling thing. I'm going to skip that now because, as you know, I'm going with the puzzle of the book, the narrative. The dice rolling is taken out of the equation, really, because it doesn't technically matter. Right, so going to 144. Let's see, we were going on. We were on 90, weren't we? So yes, 90. So 90, and then we say that we win eventually. Even if it wasn't the first time, we would have won eventually. And it says here, Burry and Sim also managed to defeat their opponents, although both suffer flesh wounds. While they bandage their wounds, you search the bodies and find a leather bag on the belt of their leader. Inside you find a bronze key and some brown powder in a small round tin. You pocket the key and hand the powder to Sim to see if he knows what it is. Snuff, he says scornfully. Horrible stuff. He empties the tin on the ground and you decide what to do next. So, we have got a bronze key. Bronze key. There are lots of items in this one. And let's make a note of it here as well. Bronze key. So options. If you would rather, let's see. If you were to continue along the tunnel, turn to 398. 398. If you would rather walk back to the junction and try the other passage, turn to 222, interestingly, as well as an option. So there we are, 222. I'm going to continue, actually, 398. Saving my game as well, of course, so that if it turns out that this path leads to failure, I can go back and take the other path. A few minutes later, you hear the dull sounds of hammers hitting rocks and the rattle of chains. If you wish to investigate, turn to 214. I can move these things a little bit this way. If you'd rather walk back to the junction and try the other passage, turn to 338. So again, we can sort of make different decisions here. So we've got 338, which leads me to believe it is really indeed a very small dungeon crawl, this particular bit. And I think 214 is going to be the dead end now, because if you hear somebody hitting rocks, that means they're tunneling. So this might be the end of the tunnel. So junction and investigate. I'm going to investigate the hammering and see what's going on there. And I think I saw the picture for this earlier. This one here. And that reminds me a little bit of Warlock of Firetop Mountain, of course, the one where you have the tools that are on their own accord doing tunneling, and of course the tools. They are of course imbibed with the spirits of dead dwarfs or dwarfs that would have been dead, which isn't part of the actual story, I think, in Warlock of Firetop Mountain, but in the prequel radio play, that is actually explained as the spirits of the tunneling dwarves being turned into animated tools for digging. And by the way, the radio plays are quite good, especially Warlock of Firetop Mountain, I think, is really good. And also, I think the Citadel of Chaos, I think those two are the best, actually. The other ones, I don't know, not quite as good, I think. And they're all sort of prequels to the stories that happen in the books. The nice thing about Citadel of Chaos is, of course, there's some of the things that you encounter in the book, like the wife of what's his name now? I can't remember. Is explained how that came to pass, and of course in Warlock of Firetop Mountain how the skeletons came to be there. The were-rats mentioned. There's several things that are quite nice, actually. Right. Where are we again? Yes, you follow the winding tunnel with the hammering sound growing louder in your ears. Soon you see moving figures, although nobody seems to notice your presence. Two thin men with pallid skin are digging at the face of the tunnel with pickaxes, and another is loading rocks into a wheelbarrow. You walk forward and notice that the tunnelers have bulging eyes which are wide open and vacant. The Duragar must be the slave masters who supervise these zombies' work on the tunnels, says Sim. But for whom? The Gargantus? See, that doesn't make any sense, does it? This is the kind of stuff you get in a tunnel complex where you have some evil wizard plotting to take over the world. Not where you have just a beast. Anyway, we have obviously reached the end of this tunnel, so we might as well turn around and walk back to the junction. If you wish to do as Sim suggests, turn to 338. If you would rather walk up to the zombies, turn to 256. So I was right, this is the dead end, 256, but what happens if you walk up to the zombies? Let's find out. You walk up to the zombie who is loading the wheelbarrow. It does not stop working and acts as though you do not exist. You walk past it to where the other two are working at the face and suddenly notice that all of them have the figure 5 tattooed on their arms. So we've got zombies number 5, which probably is not going to be a fragrance that will compete with Chanel, I don't think, anytime soon. Zombie number 5. You make a mental note of the number before returning to your friends. You decide that there is nothing else to do except walk back to the junction. Turn to 338. So now we have another clue, potentially. Zombie number 5. I'm just going to put here, let's see, zombies number 5. So lots of numbers sloshing around in this book. So at some point, I'm sure some of them will have to be combined as well, possibly. We'll find out. 338. When you reach the spot where the slain Duragar fell, you are surprised to see that the bodies have vanished. The trail of blood leads to a solid rock wall where you find the telltale crack of a doorway. You push the section of wall, but it does not move. Even Sim, with all his skills, cannot find a way to open the section of wall. You press your ear to the wall, but hear nothing. If you wish to carry on with your efforts to open the wall, turn to 78. If you would rather walk to the junction and try the other passage, turn to 222. Okay, that is interesting. So, 222 or 78, open wall. But I did have, I'll go to 78. I did have a clue about a granite door. Is this the granite door? Let's find out. Bore gets bored with trying to open the section of wall and decides to sit down on the floor. As he leans back against the wall, a small square section presses in, and at the same time, the wall section opposite him swings out. Sim shakes his head in amazement and says, "Trust the lazy dwarf to sort out our problem. Still, we shouldn't complain about his luck when it's in our favor." Holding his torch in front of him, so you cannot see. If you hold it in front of you, of course, you have to hold it behind you. Because if you hold it in front of you, all you can see is the light of the torch, and it will blind you. Yeah, torches. Yeah, they're never done right. Where are we now? Yes. Holding his torch in front of him, Sim peers into the new passageway and says that he cannot see anything because the passage turns left. But he can hear an unnerving noise, like the sound of bones being chewed by some large creature. If you wish to investigate, turn to 269. If you would rather walk back to the junction to try the other passage, turn to 222. Again, we have the option of turning back, but the sound of this creature, maybe that is the Gargantus we are looking for. This is not the Gargantus you're looking for. 269. You follow the trail of blood around the bend of the tunnel until you reach the edge of a dark pit. Your torches fail to light up the bottom, but there is no doubt that something is down there, gnawing on bones. The unseen creature senses your presence and makes deep, loathsome, gurgling noises. Maybe it's the Gargantus Beast, whispers Bore. I've got a length of rope here if either of you want to climb down. I'm too fat to climb down there. Sim stares coldly at the dwarf and says, I ought to throw you down there to distract its attention while we climb down. Only joking, laughs Bore nervously. You decide to interject, and you argue that if it is the Gargantus Beast at the bottom of the pit, then the pit must be accessible from the bottom. The Gargantus would not have jumped down, but who controls these tunnels? Is it the Gargantus itself, or does another being hold the Gargantus captive? Nobody has an answer. Well, what should we do? Asks Bore. Now this is quite nice because you've got 3 characters now, so it's a little bit like, this actually feels more like your usual role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons kind of scenario than the other books have done before. Because you get that sort of dynamic between people, you get the jokes, you get the discussion about what to do. And I know that when, of course, famously, Warlock of Firetop Mountain was created to explain how role-playing games work, but I think they didn't have, of course, the party dynamic, and so this, in a way, actually explains it better when you have something like this with an interaction between the different party members. If you wish to volunteer to be lowered down the pit by rope, turn to 117. If you would rather walk back to the main tunnel, turn left and walk past the junction, turn to 222. So we've got options to be lowered down, lowered, or to go to 222. Now, the sensible thing now is, of course, to go back, but lowering down, it sounds like a recipe for getting killed. Then again, of course, as you get closer to the bottom, you're being lowered down by 2 people. You're quite secure. You can focus your attention on just holding onto the rope with one hand and using the torch with the other. You can have a look at what is down there. I'm going to get lower down so you can have a little gander. Although, of course, this is going to be an insta-death. Holding your torch in one hand and the rope with the other, you are slowly lowered down the sides of the pit by Bore and Sim. The noise of the bones being gnawed suddenly stops and is replaced by a squelching sound as though some huge beast is moving slowly through sticky sludge. But before you reach the bottom, a huge green clawed hand reaches up and grabs you and lifts you towards a gaping maw ringed by rows of long spiked teeth. You are easily bitten in 2 by the creature you had come to slay. So, I need my red pen for this. Do not get lower down. I sort of knew that was going to happen because it does sound like a terrible idea. What is the time? Yes, I'm going to play a little bit longer now. I'm going to go to 222. I'm going to take the sensible path and go the other direction. So there we are. The tunnel slopes downwards. The light is dim, coming from candles burning on top of skulls mounted on the wall at 30-meter intervals. Your own torches burn brightly around you, but you are unable to see far down the tunnel, nor do you see the strange jelly-like creature which is clinging to the ceiling. As you pass underneath, it drops down. Roll 1 die. 5. Let's see. So 1d6. 1d6. So if you do 2, 9, 6 or 1, 6, 6 on the 6 and a 1, 2, a 5. So I'm going to 2, 9, 6 because I rolled a 5. The creature lands on top of you and immediately starts to feed. However, it is not your flesh that it feeds on, but the metal in your armor. Lose 1 skill point. As if being enveloped by a giant amoeba, you try to throw off the Iron Eater. For each attack round that you lose, you must deduct 1 skill point. As soon as you win an attack round, you will have thrown the Iron Eater off onto the floor. Then you will be able to walk on a long tunnel. So yeah, I'm just going to say I win that because that's easy, really, and I'm going to go 1, 5, 1. You pass a battered iron helmet attached to the wall with a candle burning on top of it. All the other candle holders are skulls, and you wonder why the helmet is the odd one out. If you wish to try on the helmet, turn to 197. If you'd rather keep on walking, turn to 281. So we got to scale -1 there, and special rules for combat. And then we have helmet, and we go like so. So 281, walk, or 197, helmet. I'm going to test the helmet, of course, to find out. Of course, it is going to give me penalties or bonuses to skill, and of course, I am ignoring it most of the time now, but it is interesting to see what happens with these items that you can pick up. As soon as you place the helmet on your head, it seems to mold itself to your skull and grips it tightly. It is cursed, of course. Try as you might, you are unable to take it off. You are unfortunate enough to be wearing a helmet of cowardice. From now on, each time you face a creature in combat, roll 2 dice. If the total is the same as or less than your skill score, you will summon up enough courage to fight. If the total is greater than your skill, you will offer no resistance to the creature, and death will quickly follow. Lose 2 luck points. So, let's see, -2 luck. And skill, test, combat. Regretting a foolish decision, you walk on along the tunnel, go to 281. Of course, I'm saving my game all the time, so technically now I didn't do that. And technically, again, it doesn't matter because if I get to the point where this would have caused me to die, I would just do the same over again until I succeed. It's not cheating, it is saving time. So, 281. As you walk along, you do not see a small rock on the floor in front of you. There's lots of little things you didn't see here, is it? Test your luck. Let's see. So it feels a little bit contrived when you do 2 of those in a row without any other sort of choices and things, or almost without any other choices. 392, 320, unlucky, lucky. I'm just going to say I'm lucky there. I'm not going to bother rolling the dice because I will eventually be lucky. You step over the rock, unknowingly avoiding a trap, and walk on. Turn to 79. Ahead you hear a rumbling sound, like wheels rolling over the rock floor. A figure slowly comes into view from out of the shadows, pushing a cart loaded with bones. It is an ugly... Lots of these creatures are described as ugly. I mean, seriously. I mean, is that the best you can come up with? It's an ugly, muscular creature with long arms that end in sharpened claws. It has a drooling mouth from which long teeth protrude like tusks. On seeing you, the cave troll grunts, releases the cart, and lumbers towards you with a raised club. So, 8, 9. The cave troll attacks you, but Sim, skill 10, and Boris, skill 9, can also attack the troll. Therefore, you have 3 attacks against the troll, against 1 in return. If you win, turn to 19. So that's the first time in this book that that's happened, which is nice. We win, of course. You find a small wooden box tucked into the troll's clothing. If you wish to open it, turn to 188. Alternatively, you can either tip up the cart or walk on, leaving the box and the cart behind. So I'm sure there's something in the cart as well under the bones. So let's see. So we have 40. Walk. 366. Cart or 188 box. I'm going to start with the box, have a little look at that. 188. The box is the home of the troll's pet spider, a deadly tarantula, although tarantulas are not deadly. As you open the box, the spider escapes and runs up your arm. You try to knock it off your arm with the box. Roll 2 dice. If the total is the same as or less than your skill, turn to 204. If it's greater than your skill, turn to 305. So it's a test of skill. And don't do that. So 204 and 305. Fail. Succeed. The dog that's been barking a lot now lately. I don't know if you can probably hear it, I suppose. You flick the spider off your arms and crush it underfoot. Trolls, says Bori, shaking his head. Only trolls are stupid enough to have poisonous spiders as pets. I suppose he keeps a rattlesnake in the cart. Maybe that's a foreshadowing. If you wish to tip up the cart, turn to 366. If you want to continue leaving the cart behind, turn to 40. I'm going to tip up the cart, of course, 366. Okay, 366. Underneath all the bones, you find another wooden box, much bigger than the one hidden inside the troll's clothing. If you wish to open the large box, turn to 104. If you would rather walk on, leaving the boxes behind, turn to 40. So, yeah. 104. So this is where the rattlesnake lives, I presume. The thing is, if you think there's a rattlesnake in a box or another animal in a box, what do? You shake the box, don't you? Yeah. I'm checking out the box anyway. You carefully lift the lid of the box and find that it contains merely empty bottles of Warthog Stout, the favorite drink of trolls. There is also a book which is published by the small brewery entitled The Warthog Book of Troll Records. It's like the Guinness Book of World Records, yeah. Bori grimaces and says, "Ew, Warthog Stout. How can anybody drink that ditch water? Trolls are so disgusting, they'll drink anything. And they can't even read, so why this book gets published is a mystery to me. Still, I wouldn't mind a quick read to see how stupid trolls can be." If you want to rest for a while and let Bori read the book, turn to 266. If you want to tell him to leave the book and press on along the tunnel, turn to 40. Okay, so 266. I'm sure there's some interesting stuff in the book as well, so we are going to see what it says. Boris spends the next 5 minutes muttering to himself, calling trolls all the bad names he can think of. "Why would anyone want to do that?" exclaims Boris suddenly. "Did you know that the Alancian record for the number of hobbits ears eaten by a troll in the competition is 119? Clue. So 119, clue. So hobbits, one hobbit is 119. The length that trolls will go to for fame. Come on, let's go. Boris suddenly marches off, throwing the book over his shoulder. You and Sim hurry after him, with Sim asking Bori if he is the shortest dwarf in the Lancia. "Mind your own business," snaps Bori, still marching ahead. Turn to 40. Excuse me. So, interesting group dynamic there again, which is great fun. Quite enjoying that, actually. Okay, so the tunnel soon ends at a junction. Looking right, you see that the tunnel continues straight on as far as you can see. Looking left, you see that it soon comes to a dead end. There is something or somebody lying on the floor at the dead end, and you can hear the unmistakable squeak of rats. If you wish to go left, turn to 202. If you wish to go right, turn to 315. So, dead end to the left, that could be checked out because there is something there, and right it goes on and on. So I'm going to turn left, check out the dead body. 315 left, right, 202 it is. Very exciting. Oh, that's quite a picture. I must say. The object lying against the wall is a corpse, and large rats are climbing all over it. The corpse is clad in leather armor, but 2 arrows stick ominously out of its back. A leather pouch and a cloth sack are empty, and there are no weapons to be found. However, Sim notices that the left hand of the body is clenched shut. and after prizing it open, he finds a bone amulet in the shape of a beetle. He hands it to you, saying that he would rather trust in his sword than a trinket to protect him. If you wish to keep the amulet, turn to 86. So here we have another amulet. So, and I'm supposed to find lots of amulets. Amulet with a what did it say? A beetle, a bone amulet, bone with a beetle on it. Bone and beetle amulet. Okay. Just gonna put a little circle around that. Might be essential. Also, this might be essential. The clue there. So 86, keeping the amulet. Amulet. Yes, I'm gonna keep the amulet. 86. 86. Unknown to you, the bone beetle is an amulet of ill fortune. Lose 3 luck points. Okay, do not keep the amulet. So luck -3. Its previous owner had found it only 3 days before his death. Finding nothing else of interest, you walk along the other branch of the tunnel. 315. Okay, so that is a red herring amulet, I suppose. So do not go left at all, really. 315. This is where we have that nice illustration I saw earlier. You pass between 2 statues of skeleton warriors and immediately feel a gust of cold wind blow down the tunnel into your faces. The wind blows harder and begins to howl. "You seem to be in the right place," says Borri, in a more serious tone than usual. Suddenly you see something glowing white at the end of the tunnel. It grows in size and flies towards you at speed. When it is near enough, you see that it is a being with an agonized look on its face, its diffuse body trailing behind it. Its mouth opens and lets out a soul-chilling scream. "It's an ice ghost," shouts Sim above the wailing scream. "Don't let it touch you as it flies by. And look out, here comes 2 more. You keep your eyes on the ice ghost as they spiral towards you. Roll 2 dice 3 times. If any of the totals are greater than your skill score, turn to 379. If the totals are all the same as or less than your skill, turn to 72. So basically you're testing skill 3 times. So test skill times 3. And then we go, so that is 2 options. So 72, success, 379, fail. 72 it is. The vapor-like bodies of the ice ghosts close in fast, but they manage to evade them. Sim and Borri also manage to dodge the ice ghosts. You watch them disappear down the tunnel, and all becomes quiet again. Watchful for more ice ghosts, you press on down the tunnel. Turn to 245. Right. That's the word tunnel. I repeated twice in too short proximity. It should have just said you press on. One of those text flow things that you sometimes see in these game books, where especially things like tunnel and corridor and things are repeated too many times, and it just seems a little bit somehow. Okay, 245. With the ice ghost out of the tunnel, all is quiet again. I don't suppose many people know that the howling tunnels get their name because they are inhabited by ice ghosts, says Borri in a more cheerful voice. But I hope they don't come back. Look, there are 2 more statues of skeleton warriors further down the tunnel. If you wish to pass between the statues, turn to 56. If you wish to stay where you are and ask Sim to search for a possible secret passage, turn to 112. Why suddenly now, of all the times, do we have the option of finding a secret passage? 112, 56, statue, passage, secrets. Let's look for secret passages. What is the worst that could happen? Sim searches for 5 minutes without success. Suddenly you hear the sound of the howling wind start up again, and look behind you to see the 3 ice ghosts flying back down the tunnel. Their mouths are open to let out their horrific screams. There is nowhere to hide, and you ready yourself to dodge them as they close in on you. Roll 2 dice 3 times, and then it's yeah. So that's another sort of skill times 3 test. Skill times 3 test. And I'm just going to put those options up there. So 3, 2, 3 succeed, and 3, 8, 3 fail. The ice ghosts close in, but you manage to evade them as they fly by. Sim and Bori also dodge them successfully. You watch the ghost disappear down the tunnel before deciding to abandon the search for a secret passage and walking boldly between the statues ahead. So that was just a way to give you the option of getting killed by the ghosts, I suppose. Oh, well, this is the Gargantus right here. That's what it looks like. I see a cross between a pit fiend and a flesh golem with a horn in the head. And I can see that is actually quite an apt description. I was going to focus on that. Does look a bit like that. No more ice ghosts appear when you pass between the statues, and you follow the tunnel as it bends to the right. In a few minutes, you hear more noise up ahead, but this time it sounds like the deep grunt of a huge beast. You walk on until the tunnel opens out onto a ledge near the bottom of a deep pit. A foul smell of rotting slime fills your nostrils. The stench comes from the thick sludge which covers the bottom of the pit, just below the ledge. 2 legs, green and scaly, rise up out of the sludge, and your eyes follow them upwards to a huge torso which ends in a gnarled head, with a gaping maw ringed by rows of long spiked teeth. In the center of the forehead, you see a white spiral-shaped horn. Although the Gargantus has poor sight, it senses your presence and reaches down towards the ledge with its giant clawed hand. You jump back into the safety of the tunnel beyond the reach of the Gargantus. You tell Sim and Bori that you intend to step into the sludge-filled pit while they fire arrows to distract the Gargantus. Yes, good plan. With the plan decided, you draw your sword and walk once more to the ledge. The Gargantus lets out a fearful roar and swipes at you with its clawed hand. If you have daubed yourself with chameleonite blood, I have actually dabbed myself with chameleonite blood in the previous part of my playthrough, turn to 24. So we have, where are we now? 56, so that is chameleonite. So that is essential. Let's see if I can find it on my map now so I can actually make a note of that being essential. Let's see, chameleonite. Did I make a note of it on my character sheet? I did not. So I can't remember now exactly where that was. I can't find it. I know that I dabbed myself with chameleonite, so that is the important thing. So chameleonite blood may be essential, of course, might not be, but it might make things easier now. So it's 24, 3, 4, 9. Camille blood 24. And it's made a menu sort of camouflage or something like that. Once in your life, that's what it said in the description. Without your even having to think about it, the chameleonite blood triggers a new defense mechanism in your body. Your skin turns dark green like the sludge in the pit, and the Gargantus suddenly loses sight of you altogether and misses with its claws, although it can still sense your presence. But Sim and Bori distract its attention by losing 2 arrows at the giant torso. Brilliant. Losing 2 arrows, not firing. Well done. The Gargantus howls in pain, although the arrows barely pierce its tough hide. The Gargantus, however, has its own defense mechanism, and in reaction to the pain, a gland emits waves of mental energy of intense power. If you're wearing a translucent crystal around your neck and a gold chain, am I? Am I indeed? Isn't that the Talisman of Sanity, was it? I'll see how that is described now. 3, 5, 2. No. 52. Let's see where it's described because I can't remember the actual description of what it looks like. A translucent crystal hanging from a gold chain. That is the description of it. That is the crystal, the Amulet of Sanity, which, of course, once you're told that it's called the Amulet of Sanity, that's what it should be referred to as later in the game, shouldn't it? But there you go. So, I am wearing a translucent crystal around my neck on a gold chain, which is the Amulet of Sanity, which I found in the first part of the game. And so I'm going to go to that paragraph. 193. So sanity. Is this where I lose the others, by the way? That's possible. 307. So amulets. 193. Your crystal of sanity wards off the mental attack and protects the three of you, even, from a terrible fit of madness. Realizing that the Gargantus is an incredibly powerful beast, you decide to think again about how best to defeat it. It's a bit late for that now, isn't it? If you still wish to step into the pit and attack it with your sword, turn to 147. If you wish to use something else, turn to 375. Okay, that indicates to me there is something else you can use. Let's find out what our options are. So 147 sword or 375 something else. Let's find out what something else can be. 375. You may try any of the following items if you possess them. Which one will you use? A silver mirror, a silver rod, or a rat skull? If you don't have any of those, you have to rely on your sword. So we have 1, 2, 3. Did I have the mirror? I can't remember now. Yes, I do have the mirror. I do have the rod. And I do... Did I have the skull as well? I can't remember if... I sort of vaguely remember having seen a rat skull somewhere. Anyway. So, 394. Mirror. 128. Rod. 198. Skull. Now, I can't really see the mirror. How would that work? Would it reflect back the mental attack onto the Gargantus itself? The silver rod, the rod that I found seems to be part of two things. So, and the rat skull, I don't know if that's going to make any difference whatsoever. Let's try the mirror, 394. Believing that the power of the Gargantus is somehow located in its tiny eyes, you try to reflect its own gaze with a mirror in the hope that it might destroy itself. But the mirror has no effect. Lose 2 luck points. So it's not the mirror. -2 luck. So you must rely once again on your trusty sword. Okay, so that is not the right thing. I'm curious now because, well, while I'm here, I might as well just try the other options I have available to me and try the rod. If you have both halves of the rod, you will know what type of rod it is and how to activate it. Okay, so this is where I'm actually missing something in that case. I do not have 2 parts of a rod. I've only got 1 part of a rod. So, yeah. Which indicates to me that now maybe there is something I've missed. Maybe there is somewhere I can find another piece of 4. So I'm missing an essential item potentially now, which is the head, that is meant to go on the rod to make it into a magical rod. And it's the Rod of Thunder, Transmutation or Paralysis, if I'd had one of those pieces. So I'm going to just put the options up here. And it's 387, 206, or 38. Thunder, Transmutation or Paralysis. Now, the problem with this paragraph now is that I do not have both halves of the rod. But there is no option here, once I got to this paragraph, for what to do if I don't have two halves of the rod. But I'll just have to follow the options. Rod of Paralysis, let's go with that. The rod can affect only one being at any time. If you hope to use the rod against the Gargantus, you must mentally release the creature you paralyzed previously. Do you use it against a rabbit, a hawk, or a boar? Okay, so now I'm really going into something that I shouldn't be doing because I haven't actually got any of those things. I can't use the rod because I don't have the two halves. I'll just go back to fighting the creature now and ignoring the rod for now. But that means that there is a chance that this rod is essential. I mean, it may just be a convenient item, which is something that makes it easier for you, as I like it's a convenient item. And also, of course, the likelihood of winning this battle without the rod now is probably going to be absolutely minimal, because it says here, you slide over the edge of the pit and sink up to your knees in stinking slime. The fearsome Gargantus is massive, and you stand no taller than its hips. Its strength is formidable, and its hide appears as tough as chainmail. And it's got a skill of 12 and a stamina of 24, which is pretty much the maximum you can expect to have. So, 12, 24. So it sounds like normally, in the normal circumstances, if you play by the book now, the only way to defeat this creature is by having the two parts of the rod. So I think I will, in order for me to feel satisfied that I've solved the puzzle of this book, I will have to find the other part of the rod before I meet the Gargantus, I think. So, and if I win that battle, you go to 220. So I think maybe for now I will not pretend that I win this battle without any special help. I will next time go back somewhere and then try to find out where is the other part of the rod. I think that's going to be my best way forward now, is a little step back again. So I'm just going to leave this for now and continue next time from somewhere earlier, and then try to study my maps a little bit and find out where could the rod be. Where is it that what is it that I missed that will lead me to the rod? It must be somewhere. There aren't that many options I haven't taken, actually, so it is quite a linear book, so it shouldn't be too hard to find, but I do want to find it to feel satisfied that I've solved the puzzle of the book. So yeah, that will have to be for next time. So I hope you enjoyed watching this today, and we continue our adventure into the Crypt of Razak, into the Crypt of the Necromancer next time. And hopefully I will find out where this rod, or rather the second part of the rod, is hiding. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time with more exciting Crypt of the Necromancer. That's what we call it. Yeah. Goodbye for now.